So, so based on your vast amount of research and your own spiritual experiences, I'm keen for you to maybe articulate as best you're able to the idea of the soul. I mean, what is it? What in your experience, in your actual experience, what is it? What do you think it is?
Okay, I can answer that, but I don't know about from my experience, from my exposure to knowledge from various sources. But I guess there's a hidden reason for that. You've got something on your mind.
Well, it was. Well, I'll go. Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, obviously with my mother in the background, sort of thing. But one of the forums that I participate in on a daily basis, they just ask a daily question, and you respond with,
Sure, I know you
Yeah.
told me about some of them. Yeah.
Well, one of the questions through the week was, what feeds your soul? And I was just fascinated just looking at all the responses that went in there, and I won't say too much about them, but lots of responses in there. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, from my own perspective as a seeker of the truth, truth is what you experience or what you perceive it to be. And when the more I thought about it, I thought, well, when you ask the question, what feeds your soul? The first question that comes up for me is, well, what is it? What is my soul?
Okay. Fair
So,
enough. All right.
yeah.
Okay. Now I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, nothing sinister.
Okay, carry on.
No, I mean, well,
You
that
want to
was
ask the question? Okay.
that was the background, and then it just sort of got me thinking. And then, this morning when I was out on my walk, I sort of thought, oh, I wonder what your take would be on that topic. So,
Okay, yeah. This I'm gonna talk in the positive as if I know everything. Okay, which I don't, obviously, but it's a lot easier.
yep.
Yeah, the soul is an aspect of the totality of God. Okay, so each soul potentially has all the attributes of the Creator, but it's dormant. Okay. And in the process of finding itself on the lowest of the low planes, Earth, it now has to get back and discover or uncover the attributes that it was born with. Okay, and so the soul is and something that eventually will come together with all the other souls, because God at a point dissolved himself and gave birth to those, and what was left on the neutron went up higher as far as God was concerned, and so these souls, trillions of them, okay, if there is any sort of number, but I guess there is at some point, at some sort of language, a finite number. Now so the soul is God. That you can say, but it is dormant, and all the qualities are dormant. So that's what the soul is. Now the soul enters various planes in order to learn. And when it came down to the incarnation we're in now, okay, entered a physical body, and is now evolving. When it dies, it moves on to another plane and keeps certain attributes that are, particularly with the personality, for a period of time until it evolves out of that. And if it hasn't been a great effort on this lifetime, then one would have to come back again of that soul and start a new personality and identity. But the old one is still in where they came from, in possibly an astral plane or a mental plane or one of the planes, and there are many of them. So does that answer your question? What is a soul? Or do you want me to say something more?
No, I understand what I know. I relate to what you've said. So I suppose one of the burning questions for me is that, like as someone who meditates on a daily basis, and that is it something that you ever find? Like, can you sort of put your, figuratively speaking, put your finger on it? Because as I meditate, there's lots of things I become more and more aware of. Maybe that's the right word. Do I become aware of it?
Yeah, I think definitely you can become aware of it, in my opinion. Although the soul itself, which is entrapped in the physical body, is actually on another plane. Okay, so you won't physically put your finger on it. Where it is located, generally, yes. Okay, but it's not a physical thing that if you cut open the body, there is it's trapped in the physical body, but it has connections with every single aspect of the physical body, through all the systems, like the nervous systems and other systems. So the way you become aware of it is by, there's a sense, a feeling. The most powerful thing a soul can do is and for you to link with, is that feeling. You feel, hey, I just feel like I'm floating today. I'm flying. I feel great. I can't find words to do it. But it is profound. Okay, having experienced it myself. Okay, it is profound. But I don't live it day in and day out. I don't have that feeling day in and day out. And you can't turn it on and off when you want to. And you can't just go and meditate. And hey, it's not about meditation. It's about where you're at, and the energy and your consciousness at a time of sleeping, at a time of waking up. It is just, you feel that's you at that moment, and it's a brilliant, beautiful feeling. And I've always regarded that as the making some sort of connection, maybe unconsciously even, not necessarily through a conscious meditation, but unconsciously, you've lifted yourself, maybe because of thoughts and interactions with people, or things that have occurred, or generally just an upliftment by soul, that the soul has connected with your personality, and your body gets a higher vibe.
So it's like a transcendence. You're transcending the physical into the non-physical realms.
Yeah, well, you see, your body's full of that energy, and that energy is raised. That's what you really feel. You feel that energy being raised. I'm not sure if one's transcending. Maybe one is transcending closer to the dimension that the soul is made of, or the energy that the soul is made of. Yeah, and then it would be transcending. Yeah.
So the phrase that, and it seems to be in our common language. So the phrase that people often use is like, "What feeds your soul?" Is that a phrase of convenience, or do you think there is some way of feeding your soul?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's metaphorical. the more your energy, your physical energy lowers, okay, let's say because of the McDonald's hamburgers you're eating and the pizzas you're eating, your physical body is, and that does affect your connection with your soul, okay? But you're not feeding your soul. You're just putting it more into slavery than it was before, okay? So it's got nothing to do with food, or very, very little to do with food. It's got to do with, I think, intention of wanting to get back to one's home. Okay, so the more one thinks and treats the people around you in a way that God would treat them. Okay, because you are God, as we said, and so now how's He treating your person you just had an argument with, and how's He treating your employees in your business, and how's He treating, and how's He treating, and how's He treating? So the more one is using the attributes and waking them up and getting them out of dormancy, the more you're going to feel that, and the more you are feeding your soul. What do you think?
Well, I was just sort of fascinated because when I was looking at the responses on the forum, there was lots of responses, and I'm generalizing, but lots of responses like, going down to the beach, or going for a walk in the forest, or sitting around a dinner table with family and friends, or so very much sort of human activity based. And I guess the sort of questions which ricocheting around my mind when I was thinking about the question is like, well, if the soul is, and these were the questions I was thinking of, if the soul is not of the body and not of the mind, then all of these things about going to the beach or walking in a forest or having a cup of coffee at 5 a.m. in the morning or whatever, they are probably more in the realm of things that make me feel good, perhaps. And I'm wondering, when I was thinking about the question of what feeds your soul, it had me wondering, like, is that just a term of convenience, or is there actually a way that you can feed your soul? And that's the question I still haven't answered in my own mind in many respects, because the first question that I couldn't get past was, well, what is your soul? So.
Okay. So you haven't answered it yet. Yeah.
Well, I kind of have, but when I posed that question to you, even I sort of, like, is it in your experience? And you've sort of answered that in terms of, the feelings and the energy levels and so on. But it just had me wondering, at a whole lot of levels about that, because it's a word that we use all of the time, isn't it? Like, it's a word that gets thrown around in daily conversation about, selling your soul and feeding your soul and doing all sorts of things to you, soul mates and all of those sort of words, phrases that you hear out there.
Right. Yeah, I think to add to that, what we've been talking about, you're either connecting to the heavenly realms, which you could use the word soul, or you're connecting to the ego, the animalistic side. Okay, so if you're connecting with and through your actions, which all we can do now while we're on this physical plane, is make decisions and act. And if those are on the side of that a whole list of heavenly things, then you're feeding your soul, okay, as best as it can be fed while it's here on this physical plane, because it's imprisoned, okay. It's in bondage, and so the more you start freeing up the soul in order to take more control of you, then the more you're going to feel enlightened, the more you're going to feel, really good, and the more you're going to attract heavenly things that are not physical. Okay, and those things are going to uplift you even more. All right. So I think it's very important how we work with our karma, as it comes, and we give, those are tools. We're given the opportunities, and we're in a very difficult age where consumerism has just taken off, and made it really difficult for mankind.
I guess I want to. I guess I want to hasten to add, because I don't want people to sort of watch this and think, oh, well, he doesn't think that going to the beach or going for a walk in the forest or having a meal with family and friends is something that can enrich your soul. Because I don't think that at all. Because I guess this, and I wouldn't say a conclusion, but my thinking is, that when you do spiritual work, that enhances your connection with your soul. Still hasn't answered the question of what the soul is in a specific sense other than the language you used. So like a walk in the forest or going to the beach or dinner with family and friends can definitely be spiritual work. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So I don't want people to think that I'm just sort of saying, oh, that's rubbish, what they've said, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm not saying that at all. But it just got me thinking on a level that, and it's sort of similar to our conversations week after week. There's things that we just don't take for granted anymore. We question things like consumerism. We question things like, what is the direction? We question things about, the age in which we live. We question things about, karma and how it operates. So that's the context of which I guess I'm raising the.
Yeah, I think I would add to that. Going to the example you used, going to have dinner with friends. I think what's important is the attitude in which you go and have dinner with those people. Okay, if you're saying, "Oh God, not again," I'm obliged to do this. I can't stand it, but let me go and have dinner with them. That's not feeding the soul. Okay, at all. Now it's like you going to visit your mother. Okay, you in hospital. She's really in need. She really, I have no doubt in my mind, enjoys the contact with you. And you go there with love, okay, your kindness. You want to help her through this, okay. You feed in your soul, okay, and without a doubt, you feed in your mother's as well. And so I think how we go about our things, no matter what it is, whether it's gardening, there are times where as I told you last week, I took my flowers with, you better flower. I'm going to cut your hair. Next time it won't only be your hair. So, but I do it with love. Okay, so I guess you can kill a plant with love. I don't know. Yeah, so it does depend on it's not the physical action. It's not the going to the beach. It's why are you going to the beach? Okay.
Well, I guess it's like most things, and when you're walking a spiritual path, isn't it? The further down the path you go, the more precision is required, isn't it? So,
yes. Yeah. So yeah. You see, walking in the forest or in the park. If one's aware of these different energies that are, and you actually look at a flower and admire it, okay, it's amazing. I mean, you feel good inside, and that flower feels good, and there's an attachment, a oneness, because that flower is using totally the same energy as you are. Okay, so you're connecting for that moment, and that's great. But if you walk past the flower and grab it and crunch it up in your hand and throw it away because you're angry at the bird for pooing on your head or something, then that's a whole different story. He's not feeding the soul. Yeah.
That's a really good analogy.